So like, here's the thing, the nuance, if you will, that no one talks about when you film your first video for YouTube, is that you feel incredibly stupid the whole time. I'm Morgan, and I know that you're new here because I'm new here. So it's incredibly nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. So today I am going to tier rank every single book that I had to read for high school English class. Now, I took honors English all 4 years of high school. A flex, I know. And I had to read a lot, and there were a lot of books I hated, and there were a lot of books I liked. So that's what I'm gonna do today. But I figure first I will present you. Well, first of all, here's my laptop, and I made my own tier rank. I've never done that before, just for you. I figure first I will tell you what the categories are. So my first category is worst books I've ever read. This is the bottom tier of books, like awful books. There's a few of them here that are the worst books I've ever read. Next we have What Happened, which is just me either not remembering what happened or not understanding what happened. And then we have our middle category, which is Shakespeare. I'm not gonna rank Shakespeare. I mean, I have my own feelings about Shakespeare, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I hate Shakespeare, even though I do kind of hate Shakespeare. But I can't like, I feel like I can't like bottom rank Shakespeare. I mean, it's Shakespeare, man. Like, what are you gonna do? Ugh. Anyway, that's my middle tier. And then I have good. These books were good. And my top tier is queer people, question mark, because some of these books were a little fruity. So the first book I have on my list is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. I had to read this for summer reading. I remember that there was a plot twist in this book that I did not see coming. And when I read it, I was like, oh my god, what the hell? The basic plot of this book is there's a girl, she goes to high school and she has like crippling OCD, and while she's at school she joins this like secret poetry group at school, and they meet in like the basement with like all the old couches from like school plays past. Yeah, but I am going to put this in good because I remember like the plot twist in the middle was really like, oh my god. So next is Salt to the Sea. So it's by Rupta Sepetys. Look, this was another summer reading book. This was the first summer reading book I had to do for high school, and it's about the Holocaust. I am not personally a fan of fiction about the Holocaust. It's not my thing, but I remember this book follows, I believe, 4 teenagers. I think their paths only cross like minimally because they all had like different roles and perspectives on the Holocaust, but I do remember one of the characters was named Alfie, and he was like a Hitler Youth, like mini Nazi, and he kicked a dog. And I remember everyone in my class was like, oh my god, he kicked the dog, but he was a Nazi. You know what I mean? I can excuse racism, but I draw the line at animal abuse. I put it in What Happened. That's the only thing I remember was Alfie kicking the dog. Okay, next is Interpreter of Maladies by Lahiri. I didn't read the whole book. It's a collection of short stories, and we only had to read like, I think like 4 or 5 of the stories in there, but I did really like all of the stories, so I am gonna put it in good. This book also has a fond place in my heart because I did do a project about this book, or where it wasn't about the book. I played a character that's in one of those books, and from the story about the couple who moves into the house and they find all of the like Jesus artifacts everywhere. So I played that woman in that couple in like a video project for my class, and that's like a really fond memory I have because it was so much fun. So yeah, but also the writing is really good, and I think all of the stories actually take place in Boston, which is an area I'm super familiar with, so I really enjoyed that. Next is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I don't really really know where to put this. If I had like an actual neutral tier, I'd probably put it there, but for now, I'm just gonna put it in what happened. I mean, it's the Crucible. We know about the witch trials, okay? Like, this is the witch trials. It's a play about the Salem witch trials. That's all I can tell you, actually, about this book. I don't remember anything else. Let's move on. So next is the perks of being a wallflower. So here's the thing about perks. When I was in freshman year, my teacher's curriculum involved a lot of us getting to kind of pick our own books that we read. So we had this project where we had to pick a book from the banned books list and then write an essay about whether or not we thought it should be banned. So I picked Perks of Being a Wallflower. I read it for freshman year English class. I wrote an essay about it. And yeah, I mean, you know, I was very much on that Tumblr age. I don't know if you can tell from like all the stickers on my laptop, but it's very much on that age of Tumblr where Perks was huge. And yeah, so obviously it's going queer people because there are queer people in this book. And I did like it. I did really like it. I kind of want to reread it, honestly, because it's been a while. I haven't read it since then. So should I read it again? Let me know. Okay, next is The Scarlet Letter. I hated this book. I'm not gonna put it in the worst books I've ever read because it wasn't that bad. Like, it was fine. I just didn't really understand what was happening most of the time. I'm really not good at like old Englishy stuff. The book focuses on Hester Prynne, who commits the sin of adultery, and therefore she's branded with this Scarlet Letter A. So everyone in town knows that she's a big old cheater. So she has a daughter, and the priest in town is the one that she had slept with, I believe. I can't remember what his name is though. Look, you know what I remember about this book? I remember two things. I remember that her daughter, Pearl, is a symbol of purity, and I remember that Hester is a girl boss. Let's move on. So next is Beastly. I can't remember who this is by. Let me Google it real quick. Okay, it's by Alex Flynn. I know it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I can't remember anything else that happened. Sorry, besties. I do remember after we finished it though, my English teacher and a bunch of kids in class all met up at the movie theater and watched the Beauty and the Beast live action remake. That was a lot of fun. Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. This book was depressing, I guess. So Ethan Frome is about our main character. His name is Ethan, and he has a wife, and his wife is very sick. I can't remember if she's physically ill or if she's just like kind of mentally ill, and so everyone in the town just assumes that she's like sick. Anyway, but no one wants to take care of his wife, least of all him. He is so sick of his wife. He really is not fond of his wife. So his wife's cousin comes to, is it his wife's cousin or is it his cousin? Oh my god, is it his cousin? Oh, it's his wife's cousin. Okay. Good. Because if it was his cousin, I would have a bigger problem with this book. His wife's cousin comes to take care of her because Ethan has to work. And he basically just falls in love with his wife's cousin. And he's like, I hate my wife. I want to leave my wife, but she's mentally ill and like I can't. And I'm in love with you, her cousin. Yeah, and spoilers, in the end, they die in a sledding accident. They get on a sled and then they run into a really big tree. Oh, do they both die? I think only Maddie might die, who's the cousin. Hold on, we're Googling it again. Look, this is why it's going in the what happened category. I really don't remember anything about this book. I do remember though at the end of the unit, it was like around Christmas time, we watched the movie and my teacher brought us pickles to eat because like I guess like a pickle dish was like a big part of the book, I think. Okay, Maddie dies, but Ethan is just injured and he has a limp. Okay. None of this matters. That's the real secret. Okay. Next is The Stranger by Albert Camus. I mean, this was fine, I guess. I'm gonna put it in the what happened category just because I I only remember like little bits and pieces of it. I believe This Stranger is a philosophical work by Camus. I think he's a philosopher. But I know that like halfway through the book, the main character commits murder. The second half of the book is about like him being on trial. Yeah, it's about him being like on trial, like in prison, and like musings on that, I guess. It wasn't very anti-prison from what I can remember. Maybe it was though. I'm putting it in what happened because I don't remember anything that happened. Okay, Girl in the Blue Coat. This is going in queer people, but there's no question marks because there was a queer person in it. I'm getting ahead of myself though. So Girl in the Blue Coat, I had to do for summer reading one year. Can't remember what year. This is another story about the Holocaust, another fictional story about the Holocaust. I believe that our main character takes a picture of a girl in a blue coat getting abducted by the Nazis, and then she like joins the resistance so she can like find this girl in the blue coat or whatever. But there are gay people in the resistance. I remember I was reading this book at work. I used to be a receptionist, so I was like reading the book in between phone calls, and I remember getting to that part and being like, oh, I can't believe my high school actually assigned us a book with gay people in it. That never happens. So yeah, this was also another choice I made because there were like 3 books we could choose from. One of the other ones was Long Way Down, but I don't remember what the third one was. It doesn't matter. The Metamorphosis. This book is about a man who wakes up one day and is now a bug. And he like calls his boss and he's like, I can't come into work. And his boss is like, you have to come into work. And he's like, dude, I'm literally a bug. And then like the rest of his family is like, oh, we can take care of him. But like no one actually wants to take care of him. So at the end of the book, they just lock him in a room until he starves to death and dies. And then they just move on. This book is like, honestly, it's like less than 100 pages. But when I was reading it in the car. I was on a road trip with my best friend and my dad and my stepmom. And I was sitting in the back seat and I was reading this. And we were on the way there because I just wanted to get it over with. I was reading it and my friend, when I finished, was like, what the hell were you reading? Because you just made the strangest fucking faces. And I was like, oh my God, you don't even want to know. I hated The Metamorphosis. I thought it was fucking stupid. Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare. We know about Romeo and Juliet. The Alchemist. My God, I hated this book. This was the very first book I ever read in a high school English class. And oh my God, I hated it. I hated it so much. I thought it was pointless. And okay, let me tell you what it's about. I have to Google what it's about because I can't remember. I just remember like thinking about, this is what I'm saying. Like, I can't remember the plot because I don't remember there being a plot. Do you know what I mean? The Alchemist follows a young shepherd in his journey to the pyramids of Egypt after having a recurring dream of finding a treasure there. So this is the kind of book that I understand why a lot of people like, but it is just not for me. I really need a plot. But I remember like the whole lesson about this book was like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I was like, but he went on a stupid fucking journey. I basically disagreed with everything my English teacher thought about this book, and then she made me feel stupid about it. So, yeah, I deeply hate this book, like a lot. So the next book is Night by Ellie Wiesel. It's another Holocaust book, but it's nonfiction. I'm gonna put it in good. I remember being good, but I mean, this is like a man's like account of like his time in a concentration camp, so I'm not gonna rank it anywhere other than good. Like, it's there, but like I'm not really ranking it because it's like I'm not gonna rank this man's. Do you understand what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying. Let's move on. The Secret Life of Bees by Suma Kidd. So this book is like about like civil rights and also bees. Let me introduce myself really quick. Hi, I'm Morgan. I have a thing for bees, like legitimately. I wear this necklace every single day. It never comes off. It's a bee. There's a bee tattooed on me. The bee's name's Gansey. We're gonna move on from that for now. Bee sticker on my laptop right here. This is my bee purse. Long story short, I have a thing for bees. I love bees. Basically, Secret Life of Bees is about a little girl. Her name is Lily. Her father is super abusive. Her mother's just died. Her father's also racist. So basically she runs away with her like house maiden, whose name is Rosaline, and she's African American. They run away because Lily's mom had like a jar of honey that was labeled Black Madonna honey. So they go there when they run away from her father, and they meet these 3 beekeepers whose names are May, June, and August, which I love. Were they sisters? Oh, they are sisters. Well, they were all gay, not for each other, but just in general. They give me very, the 3 sisters from this book give me very Maura Calla and Persephone vibes from the Raven cycle. Like, that's just sort of the bond, I feel, and that's sort of what I think of when I think of this book. I think of this book fondly. I really remember liking this book. Next is a book talk book that I read before it was on Book Talk. And that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscallo. Look, like, it was fine. This was another book for freshman year that I got to like pick. My friend Ashley and I buddy read it together, and I predicted who Jack the Ripper was like a third into this book. And I remember saying to Ashley, like, wouldn't it be crazy if it was this guy? And she was like, it's not that guy, I love that guy. And then it was that guy. It was fine. If you don't know what Stalking Jack the Ripper is about, it's about a girl who wants to find Jack the Ripper. Her uncle's like a coroner, and she's like his apprentice. It was cool, but this was also Carrie Maniscallo's first book, and I've never... Maniscalco? Scalco? Is it Maniscalco? Oh well, this was her first book, and I've never read any of her other ones. I was going to, and then I said, actually no, because I don't know if these are actually gonna be worth my time. If they are worth my time, let me know. Next, The Great Gatsby. This was my least favorite year of English, which was my junior year, but this was my favorite book I ever read in English. Obviously, I'm putting it in queer people. If you are queer and you read The Great Gatsby, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We all know what The Great Gatsby is about, but if you don't, it's about this guy named Gatsby. And he's in love with this girl named Daisy, and he keeps throwing these massive parties so that Daisy will like come over and go to one of his parties. That's like the really basic outline of it. But the narrator of our story is Nick, and you cannot convince me that he wasn't completely in love with Gatsby. Like, hello, bros? Don't behave like that. I also wrote a really fun paper about The Great Gatsby in junior year that was exploring gender roles among the characters. So I wrote about Tom and Daisy being like these pictures of masculinity and femininity respectfully, and then I wrote about Gatsby and Jordan diverging those lines, and Jordan being way more masculine and Gatsby being more feminine. I wish I still had it, but alas, it got deleted when I graduated. So Fahrenheit 451. I'm putting this in what happened. I literally fell asleep reading this book, and that had never happened to me before. I was in bed. I was like, okay, gotta read this chapter for homework. Read the chapter, and then I woke up 3 hours later. So I don't remember anything about it. There is a poster though for this book in my uncle's bathroom. My uncle's a firefighter, so I'm just gonna get the rest of the Shakespeare stuff out of the way. I read The Taming of the Shrew, Macbeth, and Othello. I think that's all of them. My favorite of these was Othello. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of any of them, but my favorite was Othello. It was gonna be Taming of the Shrew, and then at the end, because Katerina, what's her name? Catherine or Katerina? Katerina was being very much a girl boss, and then at the end she was like, actually, let me retract all of that. So then it wasn't cool anymore. But I do love 10 Things I Hate About You. How can you not? Okay, moving on. Montana 1948. So I liked this. I remember liking it at the time. And I only remember like bits and pieces of what it was about, but I believe there was like a doctor who was the main character's uncle, and he was like molesting the Native American women who came to like see him, and then like one of his clients who's the family's like cleaning lady or maid decides that she's going to report him, and then he murders her. And then the book is about the son grappling whether or not he should tell his father, who's the sheriff, about his uncle who he saw like go to murder her. I liked it. I did like this book. I thought it was, I remember thinking it was interesting. The Last Lecture by Randy Pousch. I really did like this book. It's super interesting, actually. But the author of this book was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he was a professor, so he decided he was going to give his last lecture. And the book is essentially like the stories from that lecture sort of wrapped up. And then at the end of it, we watched the actual lecture, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. Why did he die? You know? Next, I have A Raisin in the Sun. I'm just gonna put this in what happened. I don't remember the plot of this book. I just remember I had to read it over like Christmas break, and I was reading it like January 1st and trying to read it because it's a play. And I remember like looking up on YouTube like A Raisin in the Sun play so that I could listen to the play and read it at the same time. And I finished it in like 2 hours doing it like that. So work smarter, not harder, kids. Next is Brave New World. My god, I hated this book. This is sort of like 1984, but bad. I've never read 1984, so if 1984 is bad, I don't know, but it's super bad. Any book where 7-year-olds are quoted to be playing erotic games is not for me. Also, I feel like the first half of the book and the second half of the book had like 2 completely different plots. The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I have no idea what happened in this book. I remember literally nothing about it. Of Mice and Men by Steinbeck. I liked this book. I did. I am never going to stop thinking about that meme of like the spoon. I'll insert it here if I can find it. If I can't, sorry. But we know what Of Mice and Men it's about. It's about George and Lenny. But the end did make me cry. I was once again on a road trip reading this book. I finished it right as we were pulling into a Steak and Shake. The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. Obviously it's going in queer people. Oscar Wilde, gay icon. This book is so camp, like invented camp. It's funny. It's not a book, it's a play. It's one of the like comedies that we read that was actually funny. I did like it. The plot of the book, I believe it's like a comedy of errors where they keep like mixing up who's who. And then finally, I hate this book with everything in me. This book is so bad. It's so bad. This I had to read in freshman year. I read it right after we did Romeo and Juliet because we did like a thing where we picked retellings of Romeo and Juliet, and we like, I think we wrote a paper. My god, was this book bad. And it's Scribbler of Dreams by Mary E. Pearson. What I can tell you about this book, it's like if Blue and Gansey from the Raven Cycle sucked tremendously. Like if they were not the serve that they were, like this is what the Raven Cycle would be. It's so bad. The plot of the book is the rich boy's family is trying to buy out the girl's like farm, and so she hates him. But then at the end they're like under a gazebo at like a big party he threw, and she's like, actually I'm in love with you. And he's like, what a surprise, I'm in love with you too. I remember being so angry at this book because there was literally no development from hate to love. It was just like a snap, and we were like, oh shit. Like it was like the author was like, I need to write a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and then forgot to put any of the like development and chemistry in. It was stupid. And also like the rich guy is trying to buy out the poor girl's family's farm, and you're like, oh, I'm in love with you. No, I hate this book. This is still to this day, I read this book 6 years ago, and it's still to this day the worst book I've ever read, tied with The Alchemist. I need to like get off my hate train of this book so I can film a pleasant outro. Oh my god, I hate this book. We made it, besties. These are all, I believe, 29 of the books I read for English class in high school. Here it is. So thank you for joining me on this journey, my very first journey. I really appreciate you being here. If you liked what you saw, you know, stick around. I do intend on making more content. If you're here, you've earned my love and affection. So I love you. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for joining me today. And I will see you next time. Later. But I believe The Stranger is like a philosophical work. Philosophical.